Hello everyone, welcome to the Australian Conference of Economists, ACE. My name is Huifeng and today I will be presenting some economic concepts through different examples. So firstly, I will explain a consumer and producer surplus and what happens after a consumption tax is implemented. Consumer surplus is the gap between what buyers paid and what they are willing to pay. Producer surplus is the gap between what sellers receive and what they are willing to receive. Consumption tax affects the demand of the product because it increases the price that consumers have to pay for the product. So when a consumption tax is implemented, the demand curve of this diagram shifts to the left from D1 to D2. The price of product increases, so buyers will be paying more and the gap between what they pay and what they are willing to pay will be smaller, leading to a reduced consumer surplus, highlighted in pink. Same thing goes for the seller. Their cost of production increased, which means they will be receiving lesser, so the gap between what they receive and what they are willing to receive will be smaller as well, leading to a reduced producer surplus. The difference between price buyer pay and the price seller receive on the vertical axis of this graph is the tax amount. The rectangle highlighted in green is the revenue government will be receiving because of this tax. With this reduction happening, it creates a market distortion because some buyers will not buy the product anymore and less products will be produced by the producers due to the increase in price. And this leads to a deadweight loss, which is the triangle highlighted in orange. Next will be the effect of tax on imports, which is known as tariff. So when tariffs are implemented, it increases the cost of imported goods. Therefore, it affects the market price and quantity of the goods. With the market price increasing, it leads to a reduced consumer surplus because consumers now pay more and buy less of the imported goods. The consumer surplus is highlighted in pink. And since the market price of imported goods increased, domestic producers can now sell at a higher price because tariffs limit the competition from imported goods, and this gives them more control over the market, therefore leading to an increase in producer surplus. The producer surplus is highlighted in yellow. With the implementation of tariffs, government will benefit because tax revenue will be collected by them when imported goods are sold, which is highlighted in green. Finally, the difference in quantity for the imported goods before tariff and after tariff is the consumer's deadweight loss, shown by two triangles highlighted in orange. So the difference between the deadweight loss previously and in this case is that previously that deadweight loss comes from both consumer and producer, but in this case of a tariff, it is from the loss of consumers only. Now we come to scenario 1 of question 3, which is how generative AI reduces the inequality of unskilled and skilled workers. So if generative AI is able to replace tasks that originally have to be done by skilled workers, the need for skilled workers will be reduced. For instance, if Gen AI is able to replace lecturers to teach in classes, the demand for lecturers will be reduced, and since demand is reduced, their wages will also be lower. As a result, the demand curve in the labor market diagram for skilled workers will shift to the left, reducing their wages and quantity. When this happens, more unskilled workers will have new job opportunities, for example, technical assistant to operate the AI system in class or to manage the logistics around the AI tool. The demand curve in the labor market diagram for unskilled workers will then shift to the right, as now their wages and quantity will increase. So when this happens, the demand for unskilled workers will be increased and increases their wages. In conclusion, since this scenario leads to a smaller wages gap between unskilled and skilled workers, it reduces the inequality between them. The next scenario is how Gen AI increases inequality between unskilled and skilled workers. So if Gen AI is able to replace tasks originally done by unskilled workers will no longer be needed, and instead, more skilled workers will be needed to maintain the Gen AI. For example, when generative chatbots takes over customer service tasks, the need for human customer service decreases. This leads to a reduce in demand for these unskilled workers and a drop in their wages. As a result, the demand curve in labor market diagram for unskilled workers will shift to the left, reducing their wages and quantity. However, on the other hand, skilled workers like AI engineers will be needed to maintain and improve the chatbots, which leads to increased opportunities and high wages for them. So when this happens, the demand curve in the labor market diagram for skilled workers will shift to the right, increasing their wages and quantity. In conclusion, with the Gen AI chatbots being able to replace customer service jobs, the wage gap between unskilled and skilled workers will be larger, leading to a further increase in inequality. Now we come to first scenario of this question, which I'll be explaining how Gen AI can boost productivity using a ADAS, aggregate demand and aggregate supply diagram. A ADAS diagram basically illustrates the relationship between the aggregate demand and aggregate supply in an economy. It helps us to understand how changes in productivity can impact the economic output and price levels. In this scenario, we will use chatbot as an example. The graph starts at point A, where AD curve and SRAS1 curves intersects, which is where economy is in balance, with an output of Y star and a price of P1. With the implementation of AI chatbot to replace their human customer service, it boosts their productivity because chatbots replies rapidly and automatically to customers' inquiries. This increase in productivity shifts the SRAS curve to the right from SRAS1 to SRAS2 because companies can now produce more output at the same price level, which then result to a higher level of real GDP, moving Y star to Y star star as the economy reaches point B. Since now things are running more efficiently, price level drop decreases from P1 to P2, reflecting a drop in price while increasing efficiency. So in conclusion, the implementation of AI chatbot increases response time and increase operational efficiency. It allows companies to produce more at a lower cost, which leads to an overall increase in productivity. The next scenario will be how Gen AI leaves productivity unchanged, meaning that the output of the economy, which is the real GDP, remain unchanged. So the economy starts at point A, where AD1 curve and SRAS1 curve intersect at a price level of P1 and output level of Y star, which is where the economy is in balance. When Gen AI example AI creation tool is implemented into companies, they expect a productivity boost. So prices are rise, thinking that AI will help them create more context and improve efficiency. This shifts the AD curve to the right as the demand of the company product increases. This increased demand moves the economy from point A to point B. At point B, price increase from P1 to P2 because businesses expect to produce more due to the Gen AI. However, they are not actually producing more than they were before. So as time goes on, businesses start to realize that the Gen AI do not boost productivity because often there are complex issues that they cannot deal with and still needs human resource to step in. Because of this, the cost of business actually goes up, which causes the SRAS curve to shift to the left from SRAS1 to SRAS2. As a result, the point where AD2 curve and SRAS2 curve intersects will be the new economy point C, and price further increase from P2 to P3. The real output, which is the real GDP, remains at Y star, therefore productivity is unchanged. Lastly, I will discuss about why people tend to choose unhealthy food options, even if they know it is not good for them. Let's use McDonald's ordering kiosk as an example. McDonald's use this method called choice architecture in behavioral economics to nudge their customers to choose unhealthy food. So as you can see in the menu of their ordering kiosk, what looks fancy and attractive is always at the top part of the kiosk, which is at eye level, because they design it this way strategically to emphasize what they want the customers to see, the unhealthy food choices. Customers will often be compromised and choose the options at the top. Next, when they select the food they want, a prompt of whether to get a set meal will pop up, and the price difference between a la carte and getting a set meal is very small, usually within $1, which majority of the customers will be compromised as well to get a set meal, because since it's so cheap, why not? To add on, when customers are ordering from a kiosk instead of ordering at a cashier where there is staff watching them, they are often less restrained and stress-free because no one will be judging them. These factors all contribute to why people choose unhealthy food options, even if a change will be preferred. With that being said, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for your kind attention.